Hello and welcome to Dialogue. The second China Central Asia Summit held in Kazakhstan is opening a new chapter in building a closer collaboration and cooperation in the region. How important is the mechanism in maintaining regional peace and economic development? What is the potential for future development? To discuss these questions and more, first I'll be joined by Professor Ulugbek Khasanov from the University of World Economy and Diplomacy in Uzbekistan and also former advisor to the President of Uzbekistan. That's our topic. I'm Xu Qinduo. Professor Khasanov, we know this is the second summit between China and the Central Asian states. The first one was in Xi'an 2 years ago. So share with us your understanding of this larger background and also what's your expectation for the summit?
Oh, we have in Central Asian research community has the high expectation about this summit because you see the fundamental basis of China's Central Asian cooperation and close interaction was set by fundamental documents of the Xi'an Declaration. So that's why the China-Central Asian relations in this context, I have to mention that have reached new heights following the second China-Central Asia Summit in Astana, marking the deepening process of strategic partnership and alignment and accelerated multilateral cooperation between Central Asian countries and communities and China.
You know, of course, it seems like China and the Central Asian countries now, they have established this, comprehensive strategic partner, strategic alignment, and also they are BRI partners. They elevated their relationship to community with a shared future, and basically the highest degree of relationship between China and the C5. So tell us, what are the factors, what brought China and the regional 5 countries together in terms of their interests, in terms of their concern?
I think a very important element is, if we speak about the other aspects of our interaction, definitely include the cultural diplomacy potential between the China and Central Asia. Because I have to say to you, as a professor, as a person who is trying to understand and the research with my colleagues in the University of World Economics and Diplomacy, the elements of our academic research and educational projects, which we see that the close cooperation with the leading Chinese universities and the number of these projects are growing year by year. That is very crucial because the youth of Central Asia and Uzbekistan are very much interested in learning Chinese experience, Chinese language, Chinese history, and Chinese culture to understand the significance and the peculiarity of Chinese experience in economic, cultural endowments of China. Another element which summit emphasized is so-called digital Silk Road initiatives, which is very essential for the China Central Asia Summit. Whenever we speak about the Silk Road initiatives, it includes cross-border e-commerce platforms because cross-border cooperation, transborder trade, and cross-border technological farms and projects between the business groups and communities of this region and the countries are very crucial in enhancing such cooperation. Plus, food security cooperation. Central Asia's food export to Chinese market provides actionable frameworks for the global South nations grappling with tech gaps and supply chain disruptions. That's why the institutionalization of this spectrum of our cooperation are crucial for our communities.
On China experience, Professor, we know that there's official delegation from your country that were in China to study the Chinese experience in lifting people out of poverty. And what's your understanding, where we can work together to help Uzbekistan, of course, to lift their people out of poverty?
Yeah, definitely. You see, you mentioned very crucial, very important and the measuring aspect of our cooperation. And in that context, as you mentioned, the experience of China is very enlightening for Uzbekistan, because China's experience offers valuable lessons for Uzbekistan's poverty alleviation through the combination of broad-based economic transformation and effective targeted governance in my country. So China's poverty reduction was driven by rapid economic growth and support of medium and the small business by Chinese government, supported by structural reforms, including a growing agricultural productivity in Chinese regions, which is very good case for my country, because in my country, 60% of Uzbek economy is about the rural sector, rural economy. So that's why incremental industrialization of the rural sector using Chinese technologies are very important for us in tackling and coping this process and these elements, and managed urbanization. So Uzbekistan can similarly focus, following your experience, on modernizing agricultural sector, technologically modernizing agricultural sector, promoting industrial diversification and facilitation, rural to urban migration in a controlled manner to create sustainable livelihoods and reduce poverty. Another element which is good from the Chinese case is infrastructure development, including roads, schools, healthcare system, played a crucial role in connecting poor regions of Uzbekistan to markets and services. And strategy of my country, and we adopted due to initiative of Shavkat Mirziyoyev very recently, Uzbekistan 2030 development strategy. It is about the replicating to improve rural accessibility and economic inclusion of these regions. So that's why China's hallmark approach was targeted poverty alleviation, which is good to understand in case of my country.
Yes, and of course, China is investing, I would say, one of the largest investor in the region, as well as the largest trading partner of several countries in the region. Tell us, what are the area the Chinese investment focus on? Probably, as you earlier mentioned, let's say clean energy, solar panel, EVs, for example, and of course infrastructure for sure, and digital technology probably, and with increasingly more advanced technology sharing like AI. Are we looking at cooperation in these areas?
Definitely, because you mentioned the very significant elements of Central Asian development. And we have to mention that we closely cooperate with Chinese partners in such aspects as urban planning in the regions of Uzbekistan, in close cooperation with the Chinese partners. Another one is the e-trade in e-tracking among regions of Uzbekistan. E-tracking includes e-tracking and transportation hubs connecting different regions of Uzbekistan. If we bear in mind the certain regions of Uzbekistan, the need to intensify such transportation connection between regions are very crucial. But in that context, living in the digitalized economy and the digital world, we have to bear in mind that such importance like e-tracking and transportation is crucial to intensify that process. And the experience and the partners coming from China are good asset, because in that project they are very good asset and the good partners aiding to develop that sector.
Well, thank you, Professor Khasanov. That's the end of our discussion in this part. Let's have a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to continue our talks on China-Central Asia ties. In this part, I'm glad to be joined by Bayan Konirbayev, Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees at Alem.AI Fund, the Kazakhstan National AI program, Wang Jin, Director of the Center of International Strategic Studies at Northwest University of China, and also Andy Mock, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. Welcome to the show. So, Wang Jin, I will start with you. Of course, we are having this second summit between China and the Central Asia states. We know the first one was in Xi'an, the city where you are, Wang Jin. So, what does the summit mean, the second summit, mean to both China and the region? original five, we say, five Asian countries here. And what does that mean to their, say, economic development or cooperation in trade, in digital trade probably, and the tourism, people-to-people exchange, etc. And how do you see the potential, what it will bring about for both sides?
Yes, Jindo, you are right. Actually, as you mentioned, I think the second session of the summit actually means a lot. First of all, it means that the continuation of the multilateral trust between China and Central Asian countries, as well as among the different Central Asian countries, because we know that this might be the very, very important historical event after you mentioned that the first summit was held in Xi'an 2 years ago. And that means the continuation of the political trust, the political cooperation mechanism still work, and hopes to expand it into other parts of the areas and other levels of the areas and other domains of the different countries. So as you mentioned, that during the past 2 years after the first summit was held in Xi'an, a lot of the progress has been made and a lot of achievement has been realized. So that's why it's the very continuation of this kind of the framework or this kind of the political cooperative structure be continued. And then second, I think, is the continuation of the friendship, because we know China and the Central Asian countries are neighbors. And also that China and Central Asian countries' mutual trust and mutual understanding with each other are being strengthened and also will be strengthened further in the future. So that's why I think the summit should be perceived as a very, very important example of this kind of strengthen and the coordination. And third one, I think it would be new opportunities, because actually we're talking about some achievement has been realized, and the people-to-people exchange and the tourism trains, and also other cooperation, economic, financial, and other sectors cooperation, and also means that new chances, opportunities for further cooperation could be explored. And that's why I think it also means the opportunity, the future. And that's why I think we hope that this summit will be successful, and we are confident that the friendship, cooperation, and this kind of the mechanism for further trust could be further enhanced in the future.
Well, as Wang Jin said, Andy, if you take a look at the relationship, China has established a comprehensive strategic partnership with basically each and every Central Asian countries in the region, and also, they signed this Belt and Road Cooperation Agreements. And also they agreed to lift their relationship, since the first, I believe, the summit. They shared the vision, basically, of building a community with shared future at the bilateral level with all five Central Asian countries. I mean, how would you evaluate the relationship? And also, how do you see, what are the factors, that bring the two sides together and achieving such a high degree of political trust and also such a high level of relationship between the two sides?
Well, that's a great question, Qingduo. And I think to answer it, I would say that it's hard to think of a strategic reason why these China and the so-called C5, these countries, are not working closely together. So very briefly, from a transportation perspective, this offers more resilient logistics chains. So in addition to going through the Straits of Malacca, say, by sea, now companies can ship from China to Europe, other parts of the Eurasian landmass, and back, of course. And this can reduce times from 30 days to 12 days. And this is very important, not just for consumers, but for businesses, because they can then turn over their capital more quickly. If we look at the broader picture here as well, in terms of the C5 and its relationship with the SCO, or the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, of these five countries, only Turkmenistan is not a formal member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. But what this means with China dealing with these five countries in a kind of a mini-lateral format is that it's much more results-oriented, much more focused on delivering concrete results. And this plays a very important complementary role with the SCO, which includes a few other countries with a total of 10 countries. And the big difference here is that the SCO is done by consensus. And that means it can be slower to reach decisions. But the political legitimacy and the symbolism is vital. So the way these two work together is pilot projects, concrete results from C+C5 can then be uploaded to the SCO. So I think this plays a very, very important role that is win-win for China and all of the other countries involved. And I think the last point I want to make is we look at everything that's going on in the world today, especially we compare it to, say, the recent G7 meeting. I think what this shows is that China's approach is standards, not soldiers, meaning that it works with countries to harmonize, standardize physical trade, digital trade, financial services to ensure sustainable economic development. And the last point I want to make, Qingduo, is that, again, a very important strategic reason, of course, is regional security. So we know this part of the world has dealt with a lot of challenging situations in Afghanistan, in Iran right now, extremism, narcotics, etc. And working together in this, again, minilateral format, I think is very, very practical and very, very much aligned, again, with China's approach of standards, not soldiers, to build a better world.
Yeah, to build a better world, of course, starting with the neighborly relationship. We know that Wang Jin in 2013 in Kazakhstan, President Xi first proposed the initiative to jointly build the Silk Road Economic Belt, which is part of the Belt and Road Initiative. So, and also we are seeing that, right now there's a China, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan railway is under construction, which will shorten the distance by 900 kilometers. And of course, also the travel time will also be shortened to by 3 to 5 days. Connectivity obviously is critical for intra-trade among the nations, China and the 5 countries in the region, and also probably from China to European countries, and also north-south connectivity there. How important is that, given the fact, these countries are mostly landlocked, and now with connectivity, it's like a liberation of, having a port, an ocean.
I think actually it's very mutually beneficial, as you mentioned. China and the Central Asian countries are connecting more closely by the infrastructure systems, and we, as you mentioned, that the shorten the time for transportation. It means closer the heart between different nations, and particularly between different peoples. That is very, very crucial for the mutual understandings between the different people. Because actually, let's be frank, before nearly 10 years ago, or before the Belt and Road Initiative was proposed by President Xi, for many Chinese, the Central Asian countries are very far and away areas, and has a very sense of so-called alien to many Chinese, and many Chinese know very little about this, what is happening there, and how their culture and how their social ideas and social customs. And also, I think the same maybe also for the Central Asian people, that they feel strange to Chinese and what Chinese culture is, what kind of Chinese political system are. And so that's why I think that when we're talking about, if you look at 10 years away, more than 12 years away, and a lot of things changed, and people-to-people exchange become more frequent, and the distance and the time has been very strongly shortened between between Chinese people and Central Asian peoples. And meanwhile, the mutual understandings between the different people are further strengthened. So this is very crucial for the mutual understandings. And also, as you mentioned, that for the Central Asian countries themselves, it also provides new opportunities. And this new opportunity not for economic development, but also for the social mutual understandings. And this is also very crucial. So it means that everybody benefits from this initiative, and everybody share the very, very achievements and the fruits of the development. And that's why finally it will benefit every country and every people.
Right. Well said. Yeah, not only physically connected, but also our hearts are brought closer to each other. Well, Mr. Bayan Konirbayev, we know that if you look at the trade, China is the top trading partner of many of the Central Asia 5 countries there. Last year, at the end of 2024, the trade between the two sides reached a record 94.8 billion. Partly fueled by this booming cross-border e-commerce sector. When we talk about the e-commerce, people would say it's a mature business between China and Southeast Asian countries, between China and European countries, with the U.S. But here, with some Central Asian countries, it's kind of a new, people say. Is that the case? And what's the potential of this, let's say, digital trade, digital economy in bilateral trade?
So the basic understanding of the digital economy and the digital trade, it's more focused on the real traffic of the products. So what is really important is that this is not just like a marketplaces which are going to get inside of Central Asian market, but this is new opportunities for Chinese companies, for Chinese products to be more affordable here in the market. And from another side, we see that there is a huge potential for our products to get inside the Chinese market and make the kind of cross-cultural development, cross-border development, and cross-functional development. And in my opinion, only in last years, we see a huge boost in this direction, because it's not only doubled, it's more than it become bigger more than 10 times in the last 3 to 5 years. The whole development of the e-commercial platforms. And what is shown now is that there is a huge potential in the future. So in my opinion, in very conservative opinion, we have a huge potential to increase this number to 20 to 30 times in the next 10 years. And that is another point which is coming with that potential of transit development of Kazakhstan, which is like frequently picked by our president. So we have a very big potential of the development, the kind of transit potential, not only to Central Asian countries, but to other countries which are closer to Europe through Kazakhstan.
Right. Bayan, you have life experience both in China and, of course, Kazakhstan. As we earlier heard, Professor Khasanov from Uzbekistan mentioned that they are going to implement this payment system, WeChat payment, Ali payment. How will, based on, of course, local digital infrastructure, how will that, in your opinion, boost probably further digital trade, or make it easier for business to both sides?
So basically, when we're talking about the digital trade and that kind of digital communication between the systems and people, we're talking about the data exchange facilities. So this is really important, because we need to arrange very good the whole level of digital infrastructure with telecommunication channels, with cross-border communication on that kind of tech-to-tech solutions. So it means that computers in Kazakhstan and in China need to have a very good breach of communication. Another part which is really important, which is still related to the data exchange problems, is this is a problem with that kind of data exchange products. Because we need to understand how we're going to use it, what kind of benefit it's going to bring, and we need to have our common standards for data exchange protocols. This is really important, because when we will be able to establish the whole standards for the data rules, for data exchange rules, for the new opinion on the development of new solutions between the systems, we will be able to proceed with the new solutions based on algorithms, especially for artificial intelligence. And this is really important as well.
Yeah, speak of that, I know you work for the national program, AI program there. Tell us something about the development. We know that not only Kazakhstan, but also several countries like Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and also they have successfully launched the AI development strategies. What are the strategies in general, and where are we now in terms of developing artificial intelligence?
So for Kazakhstan, we can have a very big credit for the development of our digital government services, because they're very affordable, they're very adoptable, and very convenient to use for the for our citizens. And this is the first practice. Afterwards, we're going to the next step, which is related to the proactive services. And proactive services and the whole solution with the digital based government is based on the whole level of ecosystem, which is covering the cybersecurity network, which is covering the digital identity part with, as I said, digital governance rules, everything which is related to the regulation of artificial intelligence. The most important point for us through Alem.AI Foundation, which is pointed by our president, is the digital education. So we need to decrease this level with digital divide and provide a very good and consistent service for all of our citizens. And it's always based on infrastructure, not only on premise infrastructure, but cloud solutions as well. And the second part is related to the digital codex. So in Alem.AI Foundation, this is called like our national AI program. We are making a very big focus on the development of these three main points: infrastructure with the regulations, digital education, and the whole content part. We need to focus on the content. This is everything which is related to the data flows.
Yes.
And this is really important for us because we really need to have a very convenient and understandable way of interaction and integration with Chinese systems. And this is going to be the next step for us. Yeah. Because as a basic point of the development of AI is the development of the whole community of AI based on solutions and technology we have in Central Asia among our 5 countries, and being a very good partner to our Chinese partners and to Chinese representatives.
Right. We'll speak of that, Andy. I know obviously there's a potential for cooperation between the Chinese side and the 5 Central Asian countries in terms of AI, in terms of digital development, and also probably in a new area like this new energy development. They have all countries in the region, they are transforming themselves for so-called low carbon economy or transformation. Basically means green energy, EVs, etc. I would say the area, for cooperation is the potential is massive.
It is, Qingduo. So I think renewable energy, the whole supply chain, from power generation to mobility as a service, absolutely. I also want to make an important point here, too, about Kazakhstan in particular, because it's pretty well known that it's the 9th largest country in the world by land mass, almost 2/3 of the size of the United States. But it only has a population of 20 million people. And here's a very important statistic. It has the 11th or 12th largest amount of arable land in the world at about 25 million hectares. And that's more than 20% of what China has. So again, I think this offers another very exciting opportunity to work together. And of course, I think sustainability in terms of environmental sustainability plays a very important role here, as does artificial intelligence. So we do know that the application of artificial intelligence for agricultural applications to increase crop yields, productivity, et cetera, is another very, very important area that I think is a great opportunity for China and Kazakhstan and the rest of the C5 countries as well.
Well, on that note, we come to the end of today's show. Many thanks to our guests. You can also watch us on the CGTN app on YouTube. I'm Xu Qingduo. Thanks for being with us. See you next time.